Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I have got a treat for you guys. The latest and truly one of the greatest Civivi knives is dropped today. It's available right now, and it is something you want and need to know about. Because let me tell you, if you like button locks, this, in my opinion, is the best button lock Civivi has made to date in a couple categories. We'll talk about that further as we get into the review, but what we have here is the Civivi Sentinel Strike. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 8.61 inches, a blade length coming in at 3.7 inches, and a blade thickness at 120 thousandths. Blade material on this guy was a little surprising to me. K110, Bowler K110. That's basically Bowler's version of D2. We'll talk more about that in a second, though. HRC on this blade is 59 to 61. We have what Civivi is calling a reverse Tonto blade, which I don't disagree with, but I really feel like it's kind of a reverse Tonto slash Warncliffe type of blade, just me. We have a flat grind with a handle length coming in at 4.91 inches and a handle thickness coming in at 470 thousandths. This is where things get very interesting. The handle material. We're looking at aluminum here. And then we have an integral FRN backspacer. Yes, FRN. Now, don't get negative too quick. This is just really, I love what Civivi did with this knife. I'll explain it as we go along. This is the first time I think ever that I have been totally 100% fine with FRN, and I will get to that here in a minute on why that's okay with me. As you can see, we have that button locking mechanism, a user of a left or right hand tip-up carry. Yeah, you don't see any screws there because the way they designed this clip is a thing of beauty. We'll talk more about that as well, but it is left or right tip-up carry. A weight coming in at a very reasonable 3.47 ounces. For a big knife, not too bad. This is a Civivi in-house design, which was really surprising to me. I definitely got vibes of a couple different designers, Dirk Pinkerton, Dylan Mallory. I would have guessed either one of those two, but this is an in-house design from Civivi, which is pretty impressive. It's a really, really good design. Price, we are looking at $85, and then there's also a sweet Damascus version that's coming in at $106, and there's also a couple other color options in the $85 range. Now, let's take a look at some size comparisons here, and let's just get right to it. Let's compare this knife from a size standpoint to my other two favorite Civivi button locks, the Civivi Conspirator, as well as the Civivi Cogent. Got these both decked out in wood. Would be actually pretty sweet to have some type of wood version of this. But as you can see, it's considerably longer than both of those two. But I think that also gives everyone a really good idea of just what we're talking about in terms of size. You know the one difference between these three knives that I really like about that Civivi Conspirator? I'll give you a few seconds. A lot of you, I can probably hear some of you saying it right now. The pivot. The blacked out C on the Conspirator looks so good. This is just my thing. And I was going to talk about this in the handle, but I'll just talk about it now because it's really nice to have a comparison of the two right next to each other. A blacked out C really pulls the entire knife together as to where the regular Civivi C pivot, it doesn't look bad, but it does give it a bit of almost a toyish look, and I don't mean that in a real negative way, but it's not good. I think it would look a lot better. I think Civivi really needs to look at that on just how many of the pivots they do fully black out. This is a prime example. This 100% would be like the cherry on top for me if this was a blacked out pivot here. Still have the C there, that's fine. You can still see it, so you know it's a Civivi. But having it satin like that, it doesn't help. It doesn't really do any good because the C's still there. The person who's carrying it, if someone says, hey, that's a sweet knife, where'd you get, what kind of knife is that? They're not going to need to see the satin metallic-y brightness of the pivot to say, oh, that's a Civivi. They're going to know, oh, this is a Civivi Sentinel Strike or a Conspirator or a Cogent. You should check it out. So I really wish they would do a little more blacking out of the pivots. I just think it looks too much better for me not to do that. Personal opinion, but let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Do you think this would look better with a blacked out C pivot or as is? I definitely think it would look better blacked out. Moving on to the blade, because this thing is fantastic. Whether you want to call it a reverse Tonto or a Wharncliffe, we can agree that it is one fantastic blade shape. Very nice lines. It's a great combination of general EDC use with a more tactical approach, and it really is tied together with a handle and a whole package that is just phenomenal. It really is. I don't have a lot to knock about this knife. I really do like it. I've had it now for over a week, I think, and it has just been a joy. The feel, the smoothness, the lines. This blade has everything. 16 thousandths behind the edge. You have a blade cutout, a blade flipper, and a thumb stud that is just basically perfect in every way. You have perfect jimping all over that flipper back there, so flips are effortless. We'll talk more about the action when we get to it, but everything about this blade is executed to perfection, with the exception of one thing. There is one improvement to this blade I would like to make. I always prefer, I love the choil here. No issue with the choil, but I really wish this part of the choil here, it came closer to the top of the handle, because you do you feel that part of the blade. It don't hurt. It's not uncomfortable, but I think it would feel a lot better if the bottom of the choil here was more flush with the top of the handle. That's the only improvement I can make. And like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but you definitely notice that you have more of just the tang of the blade in your hand than the actual handle, which would obviously be a little wider, flatter, feel a little better. But like I said, not a real concern, just worth pointing out there. Going into the handle, this is nice. This is very, very nice in just about every way. First of all, the aluminum, excellent fit and finish. The 3 holes here are interesting. They actually kind of look good. I don't have any issue with them. They're kind of there. It actually looks kind of cool on the knife. So perfect button lock. I mean, absolutely perfect tension, perfect everything when it comes to the button lock. Lockup is solid and great. They just continue to improve with these things. FRN, let's talk about this, because at first I thought this was G10. I'm not one to read the instructions first. I am usually pulling the knife out and looking at it and observing it before I look at any literature, any materials they send me. As I was said, I don't know if I said this earlier or not, but Civivi did send me this, so they sent me kind of like the informational pamphlet or page of all the information on it, and I always go straight into the knife because I just want to get it in hand. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to observe it. I honestly thought this was G10. And didn't even question it. And then I started reading the information page, and I was like, holy crap, FRN, what? And then you do that. To me, the best way to tell if something is G10 or something else is kind of just give it a little scratch with your nail, and it has a certain feel and sound to it that tells you it's FRN. So that tells me it's FRN, but I'm telling you, the feel and the look and the fit and finish, I don't have any issues. You see a little kind of a molding line up there from where they melted this together, but I'm telling you, I'm okay with this. I am okay with this. Plenty good enough fit and finish. I like that little bit of frag texture they added there. Feels incredible in the hand, very smooth, everything's chamfered real well, perfect width and thickness. Excellent length, whether you want to choke up or not. Just the actual handle itself is great. And then choking up is really just a bonus. I actually think it feels a little better not choked up, but you have options. The clip back here, this is the best Civivi clip ever in terms of overall design. And as you can see, so before we get to this little part here, we'll talk about this clip. It's basically like Microtech style reversible. You unscrew, wait, hold on a second. Yeah, so you unscrew the top here. The top here is basically a nut that you would probably use any type of pliers or anything to just loosen it up. Unscrew that, pull the clip up, and it's reversible. As you can see, there's a little notch there where it comes out on this side. So completely reversible. And the touch of the glass breaker here is just awesome. It's a super minimal glass breaker, but when your name is the Sentinel Strike, you almost have to have a glass breaker. Am I right? I mean, am I right? I love the glass breaker added to this. They did it in the most perfect way. It's super minimal. It's just what you need. You don't need anything more, anything less. It's executed to just about perfection from blade to handle, a few minor things. Now this K110 blade, let's talk about that real quick, because I know a lot of people don't like D2. I kind of get it. But this is not Chinese D2. We had a lot of people complaining about, oh, Chinese D2, it's cheap, yada, yada. Well, this is Böhler K110. So while it is basically the same properties as Chinese D2, it's not Chinese. This is made in Austria. So while it's the same, it's also very different. It's also very different in terms of price, because I'm assuming, for Civivi to get this and make it in China, it obviously has to be shipped there from Austria, which that adds freight costs. I'm assuming it's not the exact same price as regular Chinese D2. So while from a metallurgy standpoint, it's exactly the same as D2, it's also very different being Böhler K110 and not just D2. So very important to take into consideration, and the coating also helps eliminate some of the issues with any little of the corrosion you may have. It could still corrode. It's not a full coating. This is actually a black wash that I think looks pretty sweet. But K110, we're talking $85. Some places you can maybe get it at less than that. I believe they're $85 on Blade HQ, but yeah, no issues there with that. I really don't have any significant issues. Would I prefer it to be 14C28 or Nitro V? Yeah, I would. Ultimately, I would prefer it be 14C28N, but I don't have any quarrels with K110 for this model. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to give them a complete pass because I do like the knife this much. The price isn't out of bounds, so we're good to go there. The action. This thing is an absolute fidget beast. It has everything in terms of fidget factor. The middle finger flick, the reverse thumb stud flick, the regular thumb stud flick, the regular flip. It's got it all, and it's so smooth. This is the best button lock Civivi has made to date in terms of a detent. Now, it's hard for me to say this is my favorite button lock in general, because I do still love, and I mean love, the Civivi Conspirator. But the difference between the Conspirator and the Sentinel Strike is the detent on the Conspirator. I think a lot of people would admit it's a little soft. It's not bad. It's still very enjoyable, but it's a little bit of a softer style of detent for a button lock. This is not. This is a more, in my opinion, a more defined detent, much easier to just push button, which I love. Middle finger flick is phenomenal, and listen to the close. It's got that, just such a good, it's awesome, guys. From acoustics to action to fidget factor to ergos to design, this is one of easily one of my 5 favorite Civivis of all time. I got a top 10 list coming for you later this year. But right now, the most accurate thing I can tell you is this is one of my 5 favorite Civivis ever to be released. I love it. I hope you guys do too. Let me know what you think about this. Of course, there's links below. Get it while you can. This may be one that goes quick. It would not surprise me one bit because it is that good. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.